I need to tell you something that most parenting content is too careful to say directly. Your baby has feelings, real ones, not the simplified, watered-down version of feelings that we tend to assign to infants because it makes us more comfortable, not the reflex-like emotional states that we can dismiss as purely biological. Real, experienced, felt emotional states that are shaped by what happens to them, by how they are treated, by the quality of the world they are living inside every single day. And some of the most ordinary things that happen in that world, things that feel completely neutral, things that feel like logistics, things that nobody would look at and think, that's causing harm, are landing on your baby's developing emotional system in ways that leave a mark. Not forever. Nothing about early development is irreversible. The brain is extraordinarily plastic, and responsive caregiving at any point makes a difference. But the marks are there. In the cortisol patterns, in the attachment behaviors, in the slowly forming internal working model that your baby is building of what the world is like and whether it is safe to feel things in. This video is about 10 of those things. 10 ordinary everyday occurrences that hurt your baby's feelings. Not because you intended harm, not because you are a bad parent, but because nobody ever explained what was happening on the other side of those moments from inside your baby's experience. Before we begin, I want you to notice something as we go through this list. Notice which ones land. Notice the ones that make you think of a specific moment, a specific day, a specific thing you do regularly. And at the end, I want you to tell me in the comments which one surprised you most. Not which one made you feel worst, which one you genuinely did not know. Because that's the whole point of this. Not guilt, knowledge. Let's start. 1. Forcing eye contact when they are trying to look away. Your baby turns their head away from you. Maybe in the middle of what seemed like a perfectly pleasant interaction. Maybe right after you were playing together and they seemed happy, and your instinct, the natural loving instinct of a parent who wants connection, is to follow their gaze, turn their face back toward yours, bring their eyes back to you. What you just did, in the language of infant emotional development, is override a regulatory signal. Here is what is actually happening when your baby looks away. They are not rejecting you. They are not bored with you. They are managing their own nervous system. Infants have extremely limited capacity for sustained stimulation, even stimulation they enjoy. When the stimulation reaches the threshold of what their nervous system can process at that moment, they turn away. The gaze aversion is a self-regulatory behavior, their brain's way of taking a break from input that, even if pleasant, has become more than the system can handle right now. Research from developmental psychologist Edward Tronick, the same researcher behind the still face experiments, documented this extensively. He called it the mutual regulation model, and it showed that healthy parent-infant interaction is not continuous face-to-face engagement. It is a dynamic cycle of engagement, disengagement, and re-engagement. The baby looks at you, engages, reaches their processing limit, looks away to regulate, recovers, and returns. That cycle, respected and honored by the caregiver, teaches the developing nervous system something foundational. I can manage what I feel. I can take what I need. My signals are respected. When you override the look away, when you follow their gaze, turn their chin, bring them back before they are ready, you disrupt that cycle. You teach their nervous system that its regulatory signals don't work, that disengagement is not available, that they must manage stimulation without the break their system is asking for. And the feelings that produces in your baby are real. The frustration of an overloaded system that cannot find its exit. The subtle confusion of a signal sent and ignored. These are not dramatic emotions, but they are there, and they accumulate. The practice. When your baby looks away, let them. Hold the space. Wait. They will come back when they are ready. That return is not just cute, it is your baby's nervous system completing its regulatory cycle. Honor it. 2. Talking over their head as if they cannot hear you. You are with another adult. Your baby is present, in your arms or nearby on the floor, and the conversation proceeds as if the baby is a piece of furniture, a warm, beloved piece of furniture, but not a participant. You talk about your day, about your worries, about the challenging thing that happened with your partner, about your concerns regarding your baby's development, about things that carry emotional weight, in a voice and a tone that registers that weight completely. And your baby, who cannot understand the words, hears every bit of the emotional content. This is not metaphorical. The emotional prosody of speech, the tone, the cadence, the pitch variations that carry feeling, is the primary information your baby extracts from language long before they can decode the semantic content. Research has shown that infants as young as 5 months can distinguish between speech with positive, neutral, and negative emotional content based on prosody alone, and show behavioral and physiological responses that correspond to what they detected. Your baby is not hearing your words, but they are hearing you. They are hearing the tension in your voice when you discuss something stressful. They are hearing the frustration, the worry, the sharpness of a difficult moment between you and another adult. They are processing all of it through a nervous system that does not yet have the cognitive capacity to contextualize or dismiss it. And what that uncontextualized emotional content does to a developing nervous system is documented by research from the University of Oregon. Even infants who were sleeping showed stress responses to nearby adult conflict and negative emotional speech. Cortisol elevated, neural threat responses activated, not because they understood what was being said, because the emotional signature of the speech registered at a physiological level. This is not about creating a conflict-free environment or performing happiness you don't feel. It is about understanding that when your baby is in the room, the emotional content of what you are saying is landing on a nervous system that has no filter for it. When you need to have a difficult conversation, have it outside the baby's range, or have it with the awareness that the tone you carry is information your baby is receiving, filing, and responding to. And hey, if this is already making you think about something you didn't expect to think about today, hit like and subscribe. This is exactly what more parents need to hear. 3. Putting them down without warning. You are holding your baby. They are calm, regulated, settled, their nervous system anchored to yours, their body relaxed against you in the specific way that only happens when an infant feels completely safe. And then you put them down, efficiently because you have something to do, without narrating, without transitioning, just down. Their response, which you may experience as frustrating or dramatic, is physiologically understandable. From your baby's perspective, what just happened is this. The complete sensory environment that their nervous system was using to regulate, your warmth, your heartbeat, your smell, the specific pressure of being held, vanished without warning. No preparation, no signal, just sudden absence. Research on infant stress responses to unexpected changes in physical contact has found that abrupt transitions, particularly from held to unhold, produce measurable cortisol spikes in infants, even in the absence of other stressors. The suddenness is itself the stressor. The nervous system, which cannot predict what is coming next, activates its alert system. This does not mean you can never put your baby down. It means the how matters enormously. When you are about to put your baby down, narrate it first. Not because they understand the words yet, but because the tone of your voice, the preparation in the rhythm of it, communicates something their nervous system can register. I'm going to put you here now. I'm right here. The narration bridges the transition. It tells the nervous system, this is happening, and the person you trust is still present, and this is not an emergency. Studies on the effect of verbal preparation on infant stress responses to caregiver transitions have found that narrated transitions produce significantly smaller cortisol responses than unnarrated ones, even in pre-verbal infants. The words are not the mechanism. The tone, the preparation, the communicating of intent, those are the mechanism, and they are available to you every time. 4. Mimicking them mockingly. This one is almost always playful, almost always done with affection, almost always something the adults in the room find funny. When your baby makes a face, a crying face, an angry face, a frustrated face, and you imitate it back at them in an exaggerated way, laughing, maybe showing other people, maybe doing it repeatedly to get the reaction again. Here is what your baby's developing emotional system is registering in that moment. Infants learn about their own emotional expressions by seeing them reflected back in the faces of their caregivers. This is called mirroring, the process by which a caregiver's responsive, attuned reflection of the baby's emotional state helps the baby understand and regulate that state. Developmental psychologist Peter Fonagy's work on mentalization has shown that this reflective mirroring is one of the primary mechanisms through which infants develop emotional self-awareness. They feel something, they see it reflected accurately and warmly in the caregiver's face, and through that reflection, they begin to build a model of their own inner experience. When you mock-mimic their expression, when the face looking back at them is an exaggerated comedic version of what they showed you, several things happen. First, the accurate reflection they need is replaced with a distorted one. Second, the emotional state they were expressing, which was real to them, becomes the subject of adult amusement. Third, they observe adults responding to their feelings with laughter rather than with acknowledgement. The research on emotional mirroring in infancy is clear. Infants whose emotional expressions are responded to with accurate, warm reflection develop stronger emotional self-regulation and more secure attachment than infants whose expressions are met with distorted, dismissive, or comedic responses. Your baby's crying face is not a performance. Their angry face is not entertainment. Those expressions are their emotional reality. Mirroring them mockingly, even affectionately, teaches something about what their emotional reality is worth. Be careful with that. 5. Loud, sudden noises directed at them. The game that almost every parent and grandparent plays at some point. The sudden boo from close range to get the reaction. The loud clap directly in front of the baby's face. The shout designed to produce the startled response that adults find so irresistible to recreate. Your baby's startle response is a hardwired, ancient survival mechanism. When the startle activates, when the arms fly out and the mouth opens and the breathing stops for a fraction of a second before the cry begins, what is happening physiologically is a full activation of the threat response system. The amygdala fires. Cortisol and adrenaline flood the system. Heart rate spikes. The body enters fight or flight mode. This resolves quickly when you comfort them. The system calms, the cortisol clears, the baby is fine. But research on repeated startle activation in infants has found something that parents rarely hear about. When the startle response is deliberately activated repeatedly, when it becomes a game, the source of entertainment, something that happens regularly, the threshold for threat activation begins to lower. The nervous system, calibrated by experience, begins to expect threat activation. The baseline for what constitutes an emergency lowers. This is not a catastrophic finding. One game of peekaboo, one accidental loud noise, one playful startle is not going to wire a child's nervous system for hypervigilance. But a pattern of deliberate, repeated startle activation, treating your baby's threat response as entertainment, is not neutral. The developing nervous system is not built to distinguish between genuine threat and performative threat. When the response activates, it activates fully, every time. Beyond the physiological, there is something simpler. It scares them. The adults laugh. The adults recreate it specifically to produce the scared response again. And your baby, who cannot contextualize the difference between playfulness and threat, experiences the scared response and then watches the most trusted people in their world respond to their fear with amusement. The feelings that produces are real. The confusion is real. Choose differently. 6. Ignoring them while they are trying to get your attention. You are on your phone, or talking to someone, or simply distracted by something that needs your attention, and your baby is trying to get yours. Vocalizing, reaching, maybe escalating to fussiness, and you are not there, not really, not in the way they need. Every parent experiences this moment. It is not a failure. It is Tuesday. But here is what is happening on the other side of it that most parents don't know. When a baby directs a communicative signal at a caregiver and receives no response, their nervous system registers something specific. My signal didn't work. And the developing communication circuits, the neural pathways that are being built right now in these early months to govern how this child communicates for the rest of their life, are registering this outcome. My reaching out went nowhere. Research from MIT on the importance of conversational turns, the back and forth exchanges of signal and response between parent and child, found that the number of turns was the single strongest predictor of language development and brain connectivity they measured. Not the words spoken, not the vocabulary used, the responsiveness, the acknowledgement that a signal was sent and received. When you regularly miss the signals, not occasionally, not imperfectly, but regularly, the developing communication system learns something. Not consciously, not in a way your baby could articulate, but the neural architecture that is being built around the question of whether signals produce responses is being shaped by the answer those signals are getting. There is also something emotional happening that is simpler and more immediate than the neuroscience. When you are trying to connect with someone and they are looking at their phone, you feel something. Your baby feels something too. They don't have words for it, but the experience of sending a signal and receiving nothing is an experience. It has a felt quality, and it accumulates. Put the phone down for 20 minutes, actually down, in another room, face down, somewhere, and be available for those 20 minutes in the specific way that means, if you signal, I will answer. That responsiveness, offered consistently across time, is the building material of everything. 7. Overstimulating them and missing the cues to stop. Baby classes, playdates, toys that make sounds and flashlights, bouncy seats that vibrate and sing, face after face after face appearing at close range, all wanting to interact, all offering stimulation. Your baby is social, they enjoy interaction, they respond to novelty, this is all real. But your baby's nervous system has a threshold, and when that threshold is exceeded, when stimulation continues past the point the system can process it, the emotional experience that results is not neutral. Research on sensory processing in infants has found that overstimulation produces a distinct behavioral and physiological profile. Gaze aversion, arching away from the stimulus, increased fussiness, difficulty self-regulating, elevated cortisol. These are not behaviors that indicate a difficult or sensitive baby. They are the expected outputs of a nervous system that is communicating, clearly and specifically, this is too much. The problem is that parents often miss or override these cues. The interaction is enjoyable for the adults involved. The baby was happy a moment ago. The cutoff line is not always obvious. And there is sometimes social pressure from other family members, from the general enthusiasm of people who want to engage with a baby, that makes it difficult to say, that's enough. But here is what continued stimulation past the cues costs. When the nervous system is in the overstimulated state, and the overstimulation continues anyway, the stress response system activates. Cortisol rises, and the emotional experience of being unable to escape a situation that has become too much, even if that situation is affectionate and well-intentioned, is one that your baby's developing system registers as a form of helplessness. The cues are learnable. Gaze aversion, turning away, arching, fussiness that appears without obvious cause after a period of engagement, hands going to the face. When you see them, honor them. End the interaction, dim the stimulus, provide quiet and stillness. Your baby's nervous system is asking for something it can very clearly describe. The ability to hear that ask is one of the most important skills in early caregiving. 8. Handling them roughly when you are frustrated. You are tired, or overwhelmed, or the baby has been crying for an extended period and something in you has reached its limit. And the way you pick them up changes, the way you hold them changes. The handling becomes less smooth, less gentle, more mechanical, not violent, not harming, but carrying the specific physical signature of adult frustration. Your baby feels this, not as an interpretation, as direct physical information. Research on infant sensitivity to caregiver handling quality has found that infants can detect changes in the tension, rhythm, and quality of physical contact with remarkable precision. The specific physiological signature of adult frustration, tightened muscles, faster movements, reduced fluidity, registers in the baby's nervous system as a change in the safety of the environment. What this means practically is that the physical quality of how you hold your baby when you are dysregulated communicates your dysregulation directly, before a single word is spoken, before a facial expression is read. Your hands are telling them something, and what they are telling them, however unintentionally, is that the person who is supposed to make this okay is not okay. This is not about never being frustrated. Parenting an infant is one of the most physiologically demanding experiences a human being can undergo. Frustration is real, and it is inevitable. The question is not whether you feel it. The question is whether it travels into your baby's physical experience through the quality of your handling. The practice. Before you pick up your baby when you are at your limit, take one breath. One deliberate, conscious breath that brings your body down even slightly from the activated state. Then pick them up. Not because the frustration is gone, because you have created enough of a gap between the feeling and the action that the handling can come from a slightly more regulated place. One breath. It is a small thing. The difference it makes is not small. 9. Changing caregivers without transition. You are handing the baby to someone else, a grandparent, a partner, a babysitter, and you do it directly, hand to hand, person to person, without preparation. Because it seems efficient. Because the baby has met this person before. Because it has worked before. From inside your baby's experience, here is what just happened. The specific sensory environment that their nervous system was using to regulate, your smell, your warmth, the specific physiological signature of your body, was replaced, instantly, with a different sensory environment, a different smell, a different quality of warmth, a different heartbeat rhythm. For a baby who has not yet fully developed object permanence, the understanding that you continue to exist when you cannot be sensed, this transition carries a specific emotional weight. The person their system was using as an anchor is gone. A different person is present. The system has to recalibrate. And if the transition was sudden and unnarrated, that recalibration happens from a place of surprise and disorientation rather than preparation. Rees on infant stress responses to caregiver transitions has found that transitions accompanied by verbal narration, gradual physical transfer, and a period of overlap, where both the departing and arriving caregiver are present and engaged with the baby simultaneously, produce significantly lower stress responses than abrupt transfers. The practice is simple but requires intention. Before you hand your baby to someone else, narrate it. I'm going to give you to Grandma now. I'm right here. Let the new caregiver engage with the baby while you are still holding them. A moment of overlap where the baby can see and hear both of you. Then transfer. And if you are leaving, say so, in a voice that is warm and matter-of-fact, not apologetic or rushed. I'm going to go now. I'll be back. The words are less important than the tone that says, this is normal, this is okay, the world is continuous. 10. Not repairing after a rupture. Every parent has hard moments with their baby. Moments of frustration that come out in the handling, the voice, the response. Moments where you said, okay, in a tone that was sharper than you intended. Moments where the crying went on too long and something in you withdrew before you caught it. Moments where you were present in body but absent in the way that matters. These moments are not the problem. They are inevitable. They are part of parenting a real child in a real life with real demands. The problem, the thing that accumulates and shapes development in ways that research has consistently documented, is not the rupture. It is the absence of repair. Developmental psychologist Ed Tronick, whose still face research we discussed earlier, found something that profoundly changed the conversation about early development. The percentage of time that well-attuned parents are in synchronized, responsive connection with their infants is only about 30%. 70% of the time involves some form of misattunement, disconnection, or rupture. And what distinguished the secure attachment outcomes from the insecure ones was not the absence of rupture, it was the repair. When you repair, when you come back after a hard moment and reconnect, you are teaching your baby something that no perfect moment can teach. You are teaching them that relationships break and mend, that the person who hurt them, even slightly, even unintentionally, comes back, that love is durable, that connection is not fragile. The repair does not require a formal apology to an infant. It does not require words at all. It requires returning, coming back to the moment of disconnection with presence, warmth, and the specific quality of attention that says, I see you, I'm here, we're okay. Pick them up with the gentle hands you didn't have in the hard moment. Make eye contact with the warmth that was absent. Sit with them in the way that says, I know something went sideways, and I'm here now. Their nervous system will register the return the same way it registers the rupture, directly, through the body, without mediation. And what it learns from the return is something it could never learn from unbroken perfection, that disruption has an end, that the people who love you come back, that the world, even when it goes wrong, rights itself. That lesson, more than any perfect parenting moment, more than any optimally attuned interaction, is the foundation of resilience. 10 things, none of them dramatic, none of them the obvious harms that anyone would recognize and correct immediately. Just ordinary moments, running in ordinary families, landing on developing nervous systems in ways that most parents never knew to think about. If you recognized yourself in some of these, if you looked at a specific item on this list and felt the specific recognition of a thing you have done or regularly do, I want to say something directly to you before you close this video. That recognition is not evidence of failure. It is evidence of attention. The parent who does not care does not recognize these things. You are watching this video because you are paying attention, because something in you already knows that the small moments matter, because you are the kind of parent who wants to know what is actually happening on the other side of the ordinary interactions that everyone else just lets slide. You are also, I am willing to bet, a parent who has already done many of these things differently without knowing the science behind them. The instinct that made you narrate a transition, the impulse that made you stop and hold the space when your baby looked away, the reflex that brought you back, warmer and gentler, after a moment of frustration. Those instincts were right. This video just explained why. Pick one thing from this list. One that you want to do differently starting today. Not 10 things. 1. And notice what changes. Notice how your baby responds to that one small shift. Because they will respond. These nervous systems are extraordinarily sensitive and extraordinarily responsive. The same sensitivity that registers the things that hurt also registers the things that heal. Your baby is already telling you how they feel about what is happening to them. They have been telling you since the very first day. Now you know a little more of the language. I want to hear from you. Which of these 10 surprised you most? Not which one made you feel guiltiest, which one you genuinely did not know. Tell me in the comments, because someone is going to read your comment who needed to know it too. And that matters. Subscribe to Mindful Parenting. We'll be here every week.